Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna continue with our focus on infidelity and cheating, but let's keep it a bit lighter and talk about what is actually considered cheating. I'm sure that each one of you has your own opinion on things, and no two people will exactly align as to what cheating is. So in the case you are still a little bit confused as to where the line is drawn when it comes to cheating, let me give you my personal view. Now this is a little bit of a fun topic, deciding what is cheating and what it isn't. However, whether you're in a relationship now or hope to be in one in future, you need to make sure that you get that line firmly drawn as early as possible. You know, just for the sake of everybody involved. Just so there's no doubt or confusion and pointless debates and excuses after the case. Being clear on what's considered cheating and what's not from the get-go can save a whole load of heartache. We all know just how much damage and pain, both on the two of you and on other important people in your lives, cheating can easily inflict. If you've ever been cheated on, you'll know only too well how devastating it can be, and for some people how hard it can be to learn to trust again in the future. And not just their partners, but in the case of breakup, also trust the future potential partners, which is an obvious problem that can have an adverse effect on your existing relationship and its well-being, but also when meeting new people. The lack of trust or other trust-related issues could potentially prevent you from actually engaging with people who could otherwise be perfect partner for you. No two relationships are ever the same, and I'm not going to judge any mistakes that you may have made in the past. But if you have cheated on somebody you loved, then if you are honest with yourself, the guilt of that might still be troubling you deep down. Basically, when trust is betrayed, nobody involved comes out of it very well. Even in polyamorous relationships, which can often be hard for strictly monogamous folk to understand, lines are always drawn, and the people involved will feel hurt and betrayed if any of those lines are ever crossed. But for simplicity's sake, let's try to establish middle ground, as there are always extreme points of view one way or the other. After all, there are people out there who'd accuse their partners of cheating on them just for looking at another guy or a girl, and people out there who wouldn't bat an eyelid if their partner kissed somebody else. So let's jump in and have a look at a few things that I most definitely don't consider to be cheating, and I'll tell you why, and then few things that I definitely consider to be cheating. A little bit of innocent flirting shouldn't be a big deal, and lots of us flirt with members of the sex that we are attracted to unconsciously, even if we are not attracted to the person in question. Man, people are often flirtatious with members of the sex they are not attracted to as well, for all kinds of reasons. Flirting with no ulterior motives can't be defined as cheating. Obviously, there are some circumstances in which somebody would have the right to be upset or angry about their partner's behavior, but that kind of flirting is a lot more focused and specific. There is a plan in mind, an objective such person is trying to achieve. If you're deliberately flirting with someone you fancy who is not your partner in an attempt to get them to take a sexual or romantic interest in you, this isn't a good sign. It doesn't even matter whether or not you intend to actually go through with anything. Similarly, if you find yourself flirting with somebody that you're aware has an interest in you in order to encourage them, whether or not you like them back, then you might potentially be betraying the trust of your partner, or at least putting yourselves at risk of unnecessary temptation. And look, I get it. You could say that you sometimes struggle to establish or read situations and may make poor decisions. Your conscience will generally tell you and let you know if you've behaved in a way that you shouldn't have. And if you have to stop. The topic of texting is definitely one of my favorite ones, as it can cover all manners of sin. You are, of course, quite within your right to text whoever you want, and if you find that your partner makes unreasonable demands that you cut off contact with a friend or an ex who is now a friend, then you need to consider carefully whether they are either overly controlling or toxic. We are currently running a series of 40 or 50 YouTube shorts defining toxic relationships and toxic people, so check them out if you have any spare time to binge watch them and get answers to these questions. The bottom line, however, is that they definitely shouldn't be going through your phone or demanding to read your messages. That's what trust is all about. At the same time, if you have a history of misusing that trust, or you are in a recovered relationship or recovering relationship, quite frankly, you have no cards at play and your partner is within their right to mistrust you and even demand that you have or give them free access to your phone. And if you love them, you want to regain that trust. You'll understand why such free access and transparency are crucial to your relationship. So obviously, if you have messages on your phone that you wouldn't want your partner to see, or messages that you feel guilty about, then you're moving into dangerous territory. As it is in the case of flirting, no matter how much you might try to ignore the niggling feelings in your mind, you'll always know deep down whether, who, and what you're texting is betrayal of trust or not. Every couple has their own rituals and their own special activities which they only do together, just the two of them. Therefore, there are certain things that some people would never even associate with cheating that for others could be the ultimate betrayal. Even someone who's in a polyamorous relationship, for example, might be fine with their partner kissing or sleeping around with somebody else, but would feel cheated on if their partner watched the next episode of their favorite TV series with another person. If there's anything that the two of you always do together as a way of strengthening your bond, then be wary of doing it with anybody else. I think we can all agree that an innocent dance with someone else isn't cheating, even if it's a bit sexual. Sometimes that is just the nature of the dance style. If your partner likes salsa dancing, for example, then you're just going to have to get used to the fact that they will often be dancing with multiple people and dance with them in a way that may seem sexually driven or charged. That is just the nature of salsa, for instance. But even within dancing, there is a line. Some people are terrible at judging this, but if someone asks you to dance, you can generally tell whether their intentions are innocent or if they have some ulterior motives. It's all about trusting your judgment and also knowing that your partner has faith in you and won't get angry if you thought it was innocent but suddenly realize that your dance partner has other ideas in their mind. Grinding, on the other hand, unless part of the style or routine, is a fairly blatant sign that sex could potentially be on the cards. You might dance in a bit provocative manner when you're messing around with your friends just for laugh, but if there's sexual elements to it, then some people could argue it is a mild form of cheating. Personally, I'd tread very lightly in this respect. Holding hands is very particular when it comes to couples. It's certainly a gesture you don't really see normal people doing. It's not like you go out with your friends, whether men or women, though women may sometimes do it out of pure friendship. It's not really something you do if you're a man, and you certainly wouldn't do it with your friends, neighbors, parents of the kids that your kids go to school with or whatever, especially if they are of the opposite sex. If you're doing so to display romantic feelings, it's probably not going to go down well with your partner. Now, with that out of the way, let's turn our attention to things that could reasonably be called cheating in any monogamous relationship. Hell yeah. I know. These days you could say it meant nothing. But the problem is that kissing, and I'm talking about proper kissing rather than just peck on the lips, that in certain countries or cultures is literally a way to greet people. No, I'm talking about proper snogging. Of course that counts. Is that cheating? Well, yeah. Not because it does much damage to your relationship in any physical way, but because of what it represents. It shows a lack of respect for your partner and your relationship. And we all know this and understand it. Hell, in certain circles, even girls that offer their body, time and company for cash don't kiss because they consider it so personal. So yeah, a passionate kiss with someone else positively qualifies as cheating. The other thing is that perhaps it doesn't necessarily have to spell the end of your relationship, but it is something you need to be entirely honest with your partner about, and if possible, avoid it altogether. I mean, why would you even want to place yourself into such a vulnerable, potentially passionate position that could easily lead to something more? If you're in a monogamous relationship, then touching anybody else in an intimate or private area is something you shouldn't be doing. There are no two ways about it. To be honest, this is pretty much on par with kissing in my books, and listen, to make it even easier for And for all of us, pretty much anything that has some strong sexual connotations or subtext could easily be seen as cheating, or at least lead you down the wrong path. And if that happens, you either have to consider your own position, your view and opinion on your relationship and your partner, and the future that you're looking for with them. Texting is one thing, but sexting is pretty much always crossing the line, especially if you're talking about the same audience. The phone sex is pretty much the same thing. The intent is the same, really. Even if you haven't had any physical sexual contact with the other person, sending sexual messages or making sex calls is a betrayal of trust of your partner, the trust that they have placed in you. It displays an emotional form of cheating whereby you shared an intimate experience with somebody other than your partner, or show just how much weight you are actually placing on your own relationship. And yes, you could say that it was just to have some fun, that it was just your way of flirting. Still, this is definitely a dodgy area you do best to avoid if you love your partner, are happy together, or intend on remaining so into the future. It doesn't matter if it only happens once, it doesn't matter if you were drunk, it doesn't matter if you didn't actually mean anything by it. If you've had sex with somebody else when your partner trusts that you're committed to one another, then you've cheated on them and you need to accept it. And yes, I'm happy to accept that there are many reasons and circumstances that could have led you to it. Some are due to the prior problems in relationship, alcohol, or self-validation and fun, as is often the case in many happy relationships. And we actually have some videos about that subject too. However, this does not mean that it's okay. The result is always the same. If you had sex with somebody else, you need to accept your responsibility and deal with it. It's not cool. Obviously, circumstances may help you heal or take the next step in your relationship, whether it's together or apart. But the answer to the question that we posed in the beginning of this video is simple. Yes, sex is definitely considered cheating. Now, there are many other things that could be classed as cheating and many others that could not. You could spend a whole day deliberating about this, but the best rule of thumb is to use your compassion. Put yourself into the shoes of your partner and think, would you be okay if they did it to you? And you got the answer right there. Now, if you think that the two of you are completely different people when it comes to your emotional states, then also consider their emotional side and how they would look at things. And I'm sure you're gonna come to an answer. Now, if you're one of those people who has already cheated and now you're either suffering from guilt or you're trying to rebuild your relationship and you're looking for the next step, then head over into our playlist. We have a playlist that deals specifically with either cheating guilt or how to rebuild your relationship. So don't panic. There are definitely ways that you can deal with it. The most important thing is that you want to deal with it, that you accept your responsibility, and that you love your partner. Now, I hope this episode helped you. I'm sure that you're gonna find loads of helpful tips in our playlists or on this channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. If you like this video and enjoyed it, or you found it helpful, press the like. Comment if you have anything to share, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.